Let's talk more about the rules of the game. Let's talk about pushing and holding fouls. Now, a pushing foul is whenever you push someone. For example, if my opponent is going up for a layup and I come from behind and shove them, that'd be a foul. Or if I'm screening for them and I push into them, that would be a foul. Now, a holding foul would be if I hold my player by the jersey or if I physically have my hands on them. Now, if my feet are planted, I'm as still as possible, and I screen, and the other player bumps into me, that is not a foul because I was holding my ground and I was as still as possible. That would be a foul on the other person, the player I'm going against. Now, if I am moving, if I have a screen and I'm moving and I'm not as still as I can be, then that would be a foul.
I'm going to build on passing right now, and right now we're going to talk about two different types of passes. One is called the baseball pass, and it looks like this. And we also have the behind the back pass, which looks like this. That was a lefty, that was bad. One more. Pretty much with these passes, it's like a throwing motion. So with the baseball pass, you can use two hands to throw. If your hands are kind of small, I'd recommend using two hands. But if your hands are bigger, then you can get away with throwing it with one hand. So you'll want to step, pretty much like you're throwing a baseball and a football. You're going to rock back into your dominant leg, transfer your weight, step with your planting leg, which is my left foot, if I'm throwing with my right foot. If I'm throwing with my right hand, I'm going to step with my left foot, ball through. And your hand should release it, aim for your target's hands or chest. And with the behind the back pass, this one takes a lot of reps because it's just getting the skill down. But so with the angle, I tend to have my body face almost 90 degrees from my target, and so 90 degrees that way. I might bounce the ball first just to get the ball to move, and then let it wrap around my body. So if we practice the wraparound dribble, this can turn into a pass. So instead of keeping it like that, you'll release the ball. Like your hand will push the ball instead of coming around the ball. So, now we're going to talk about our jump shot, and it has to do with the preparation phase, the actual motion of shooting, and then your follow through. So here's how it looks. Alright, so notice there, I had my feet preparation phase. My feet were a little more narrow than shoulder width apart. I had a good grip on the ball. My offhand was balancing it. And I kept my elbow in. And after I did the motion, I held my follow through. So that's a quick rundown on your jump shot form. Last time we talked about controlled dribbling. Right now we're talking about speed dribbling. Controlled dribbling is you just want to maintain possession of the ball. You didn't really want to lose it. So with speed dribbling, you're actually moving and you want to cover ground with a short amount of time. So with this one, you don't care. You don't want to. You're sacrificing control because you're trying to move quickly. So with this one, you'll be pushing the ball further out in front of you and using to activate your sprint. So it kind of looks like this. Let's see if I can stay straight. So that one, you're pushing the ball in front of you. You see it a lot with certain people where they're dribbling at a certain speed and they're trying to split the defender. So they'll push the ball out in front of them, sprint while the ball is loose, and then pick up the dribble. Well, not pick up the dribble, but continue their dribble.
Today we're going to be talking about the physical aspects of rebounding. So I have 3 points for that, and it's 1, your positioning, 2, boxing out, and then using your leverage. So for positioning is knowing where to put yourself between your player and the basket to where you'll have an advantage in getting the rebound. Boxing out is getting down low, kind of like a squat, and keeping balance so you won't get pushed off of, and kind of putting your arms up so that your player can't come around you. And then we got to make sure we have good balance so we don't get pushed off, and we're down low so it's harder for our opponent to, if they go around us or over us, they'll have to foul us, and then we get the ball.
So now we're going to be talking about an offensive move called the step back. And so in this move, it's essentially you're driving. It's a short drive. You're going to sense that your defender is cutting off your drive. You're going to stop your dribble and then create space by stepping back to create space for your jump shot. Here's how it looks. So I'll take like a 1 or 2 dribble drive and then pull the ball back. So with that move, you'll want, like I said, you'll want to try and dribble to your dominant side. You can bring the ball back in front of you with the crossover just in front of your body, or you can go between the legs or behind the back. Either of them works. Here, or here. And then you'll take your step back to create even more space. And by then, since the defender had committed to stopping the drive, they have to recover. But in the time that they're trying to recover and close down the gap, you pull up and shoot. Now we'll be talking about an offensive play where the screener is setting the screen and then curls toward the basket. So how this looks is, if the ball handler is coming from here, I'm going to set the screen, the ball handler is going to use the screen, and I'm going to turn my body like this to shield, and in a way kind of use my body to gain positioning over the defender as I make my run toward the basket. Receive the pass, and finish with the easy basket. So here's how it looks. So there you saw, we have the ball handler here. The screen comes from this way. The screener sets, the ball handler uses the screen, and then the screener continues running downhill toward the basket for the finish.
Okay, let's talk defense. And this time we're going to talk a little bit about knowing your opponent. Now, what do I mean by that? If I need to pay attention to small little things like, is my opponent quick? Is my opponent strong on the ball? Is my opponent right-handed or left-handed? Is my opponent a good rebounder? Or is my opponent a good shooter? And all those things can help me become better at defending that person. For example, if I have someone who is a really good three-point shooter, then I will obviously get up tight to them. But if they're a good three-point shooter and a fast runner / they have quick steps, then I wouldn't want to get too close, because if I get too close, they can just run right past me. So I would need to understand how much space I could give them to where I could still be up there in case they go to shoot, and I'm still far away to where I can back up in case they start to move or dribble. Another thing would be if I know my opponent is a good rebounder, I would want to make sure that when their teammate shoots the ball is in the air, I am already positioned, ready to box out my opponent. So they won't be able to get that first few steps ahead of me and being able to get the rebound.
All right. So this next topic we'll be covering is called pivoting. And pivoting is essential to keeping possession of the ball without getting called for a travel. So let's say even before I receive a pass, before I even start my first dribble, I can save it. And by pivoting my body, and what the pivot is, you keep one leg planted on the ground and your other leg moves. It creates different angles for you to make passes, for you to attempt a dribble. But then let's say I dribble two to three times, I pick up my dribble. Now, instead of having both legs glued to the ground, I can change the orientation of my body and protect the ball better just by pivoting. I can even use this leg to block the defender and make it harder for him to steal the ball versus just standing right here in front of him holding the ball to my chest. I can do this, put the ball away as teammates get open for a pass. That's like the basics of a pivot and why it's important.
Now, one big thing that we need to remember is to always try our best to stay calm during a game, during practice. Now, there's two reasons why we would want to stay calm. First is it would help us better understand what's going on around us because we're not full of emotion. And two, if we see other people around us who are getting frustrated and we get frustrated, that is just going to add on to it. So we want to remember to stay calm, take a deep breath in if you're feeling like it's getting too much, or you can even ask your coach for a sub. Cool down and then come back ready to play. But at the end of the day, we need to remember that we're just here to have fun and play basketball.